Welcome to the Backpage Podcast, presented by the Niagara Wire. Today we are talking Niagara hockey updates, swimming and diving championships, hockey trade deadlines. But first, we have the Niagara women's basketball playing tonight against Ryder, and Niagara men's basketball become one of the hottest teams in the MAC. Franklin, they have, over the course of the last month or so, ever since MAC play kicked off, been one of the hottest teams in the MAC after an intro to the season, which seemed a little subpar against a lot of non-conference opponents. How far are they going to go? I mean, is this a little just a trend picking up toward the end of the season, or is this a sign that they could compete for the MAC championship?
Well, I'd like it to not be a trend. Currently, the Purple Eagles are 10-4 in the MAC, which gives them third place. So if we could keep up the good pace with Khalil Dukes doing his thing, especially if he's setting career records with 37 points, and with Matt Scott doing his thing as usual, I feel like we'd be a very viable team going forward in the MAC. We've got Iona Friday, and they're currently 6th. So hopefully we can continue their streak there.
And then the women, the women are weird because they're one of the top scoring teams in the MAC. I have it right in front of me that they're first in free throw percentage, second in field goal percentage, and put up the third most amount of points in the MAC per game. Their downfall all season has been their defense. And if they were able to sharpen that up to be a top 3 defense, they're another team that could compete for the MAC. Obviously, there are a few teams who have a stronghold in the MAC that have been winning a lot. But you got to think, if they become a more well-rounded team, how far could they go as well? Can Niagara be men and women, one of the best schools in the MAC? Are they going to be a team that can compete for the conference year in and year out? Are these 2 years kind of starting that?
I would think so, especially considering that, I forgot the coach's name.
Chris Casey?
No.
Oh, Jada Pierce.
Jada Pierce, all right. Yeah, I definitely think so. If Coach Jada Pierce can recruit players that are on the same level as Victoria Rampado, I think we could round out our team and become a very viable basketball program, not just a really good men's team and a women's team.
Yeah, and the men, too, past Matt Scott and past Khalil Dukes, they have a lot of young guys doing it for him as well. You know, Marvin Brochet, he was one of the best players on the team last year as a sophomore. He still is as a junior. James Towns, who I believe is a sophomore, he's become one of the most viable options for them on offense and defense. Kevin Larkin, who I still think is criminally underrated, I think that he can be one of the top scorers on the team. He's a junior, a redshirt junior, so he might have 2 more years of eligibility after sitting out a year. But there's a lot of people on that team, youth-wise, and I feel like that's always a good trend going forward for a team. If you're obviously you want your upperclassmen, your Khalil Dukes and Matt Scott to perform well, but when you got that backing cast of people who are going to be there for 2 or 3 more years, that's something for Coach Chris Casey to build off of. It's a good sign of things to come.
Yeah, it's especially not just for Niagara, but in college sports in general. It's good to have that young core now with a couple top 2 or 3 top players. In the men's case, Khalil Dukes and Matt Scott, so that the young core develops together and takes note from the leaders of the team and carries the excellence of the program.
Yeah, it's a good base to come off of because when Matt came in as a freshman, he really had nothing to come into. The best players were I'm forgetting his name, Emil Blackman and Raymond Snowden. So there's a lot of people who they didn't come from that. They didn't come from a team that was organized and that was well kept and that had a strong base. It was one of Chris Casey's first years in which he had no time to recruit. So the fact that these players are coming in such a structured winning program now, that's a huge help going forward.
Tradition of excellence.
And that'll go forward for another 5-7 years. And it kind of goes. It helps Casey's timeline a lot because the players that he's recruited young are now the players that are the top ones on the team. So it goes that begs the question: is Chris Casey doing something right?
I would think so.
And the obvious answer, I think, is yes. But the fact that he's doing something right, it goes to show that there could be a very good case to make that Niagara's going to have continued success for the next 5, 7, 10 years, as long as Casey doesn't just use Niagara as a stepping stone to go to another mid-major school or something like that, right. Which happens all the time. No one would blame him if he did. Mm-hmm. But it's good to see Niagara as a student, as someone who just goes here. It's good to see a team win and a team have continued success.
Right. I would say that the coach is to men's basketball as is the quarterback is to an NFL team or the point guard is to a pro team.
Well, any college sport, you look at Nick Saban, and you look at the college sports with the best teams.
Right. Like if you don't have that coach, forget it.
And then they have a few teams where you just have a good recruiting class, but the teams with the continued success are the teams with the Dabo Sweeneys and the Nick Sabans and the Mike Krzyzewskis and the Roy Williams, and the list goes on. And let's not compare, but
right. But oranges. The fact that they're in the same school, they've built a system clearly that produces very high caliber players, shows that those programs are doing really well, and hopefully Niagara can replicate that with Coach Casey.
Well, and it's not unfamiliar with Niagara. They had Mahalik, who was one of the best coaches. He brought in some great players. Then he left for forget where, but he left. He went on to go do a better thing. But Niagara has a tradition of winning. They have a tradition of good coaches and good teams. So Casey might just be putting himself
in that upper echelon.
Yeah, which is not crazy to think. So coming up next, we have men's hockey coming up, and they have their weekend series with Canisius. They're home and home. Canisius, a team that they've struggled against immensely this season alone. They've been outscored 12-4 in their 2 games so far. Franklin, what's going to happen with Niagara hockey if they can't straighten it out this weekend?
Well, I mentioned last week, it'd be really great if we could get at least one out of Ryder. And like James said, the fact that we got outscored 12-4 over 2 games to the
4-2 and 8-4, 4-2 and 8-2 against Canisius this season so far.
But regardless, it was the worst team in the Atlantic, and so I honestly have no idea where to go from here. It's just let's try to beat Canisius, the number 1 team in the conference. So. Yeah, things are not going well. I sat down with Noah Delmas, the stud sophomore defenseman.
Yeah, he's been having a great year.
Yeah, he's currently second on the team in points. He's got 25 assists, and so that's a career high for him.
He's 14th right now in Hobie Baker Award voting.
Really, that's really good.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, it is, especially for a kid.
It's out of 75 players voted on by.
That was my next question: is how many people? So he's 14th out of 75.
Yes, 75 all-American, all-college athletes throughout the entire U.S. He's 14th out of 75 best.
But regardless, I asked him about his great award, and he said, of course, he was honored. But what I really wanted to know was, what are you guys going to do about this rough streak that you've been on? And he stressed, trust the process. Coach Lammers, that's been the key to their turnaround, is that he instilled this mindset of, okay, we just got to, ride the grind, trust the process. It's going to work out.
Why though? What trust do you have? Did they go? Did they split that weekend or did they go 0-2?
0-2.
So they are now 1-11 in the last 12.
Yes.
What are you trusting? That's what are you trusting? That's absolutely ridiculous. You always say if it's not broken, don't fix it. No, you have something to fix. You and the coach and your counterpart. My God, what is his name? The other Hobie Baker nominee.
Oh, Darren Poof.
And you have something to fix. What process is there to trust? If you told me that in the first half of the season when the team was off to an unbelievable start, I'd say, oh yeah, sure, because you have something to trust. You have a base to trust. But you have not. You've won 1 game in your last 12. What do you mean trust the process? That's. I need a better answer than that. Otherwise, I said it last week. They're going to get crushed by Canisius if they don't figure something out. And going into the playoffs, what's going to happen? They're going to do worse than last year. Last year they got past the first round. There's no way they get past the first round with the way they've been playing.
Right, and especially last year. And even if last year it was a fluke.
It was a complete fluke.
You think the whole trust process thing is Darian Plouffe, yes, he's a senior. He might leave next year. You have great freshmen throughout the entire team. They have a stud core of freshmen. It's the first year of Lammer's system. He hasn't been able to recruit new guys. It's trust the process and the fact that he's recruited and turned around programs so fast before and made them an established winning team. We have Delmas, we have all these guys, and he's a sophomore. He's gonna be here. He could be here for 2 more years unless he gets drafted in the NHL. There's a lot more to be done, and it's not for just this year. They started off hotter than anyone expected. It's like the Bills. They went and Bills had a new system. No one expected anything out of them. I surely didn't expect anything after Burkholder left. I mean, Lammers is a great coach, and the entire staff is, established different programs. But I didn't expect them to go off that hot of a start. The fact that they did,
I'm just still lost. It's
the feeling of
I get
helplessness.
I get that it's a longevity thing, and Ryan, you make a good argument because they are a young team. So I'm not worried for Niagara hockey for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm worried for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
And it's just after the thing that amazes me is the difference in the season, because it has been so night and day. It has been just such a horrible transition from one to the other. So that's just my thing, is that they, you can trust the process, and you can have a base to build off of for the next 2 or 3 years. But I mean, from here, like looking forward for the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I mean, if you longevity wise, let me just offer this up as kind of a parting thought. So you finish the season 1-12,
or arguably 1-14.
Well, arguably 1-14. You get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, 0-2, because I really don't see them winning a playoff game at this point.
They would play Robert Morris if the season ended right now.
Okay, and Robert Morris, who
is pretty good.
Yeah, so you get bounced first round. So then from there, what happens? That you go into the offseason disappointed with no momentum, probably.
No, none.
So then how do you go into the next season like that? And I could be totally wrong. Lammers could have, maybe 5 or 6 new players come in, a completely different mantra, players in high spirits knowing that they got off to a hot first half this season. And
even got ranked.
Yeah. So maybe it's not a problem taking momentum in the next season, but also what if it is? What if it is, and are they just going to continue on with the streak that they're on right now? Like something has to change. And it could be changed within the next 2 or 3 weeks. It could be changed within the next 2 or 3 months. But something needs to, because, yeah, something is bad.
Well, this weekend, as of Thursday, today is Friday, obviously. Thursday, MAC Championship started for men's, women's swimming and diving. They're having a rough season. It's not as great as we would hope, but it's better than what they expected. It's the best records they've had in the past 8 years, so it is a productive year. They are doing better than they have, so there's much to talk about in that sense. MAC Championships, I don't know how they're going to stand up, but you can watch it live on purpleeagles.com. You can go and have access to stats, everything on there, and Saturday. So we'll see how it goes for Purple Eagles. Hopefully they go and they show up, There's a lot to work on. They've set many records this year, so we'll see.
They have set a good amount at the championship itself. Which, I mean, you're breaking a record no matter what, but maybe at the MAC Championship it is a lot more special, because you're doing it at the end of the season and the meet that means the most, probably in front of the most fans you've had all season with family coming in, and I think that it's good. Julia Casalo, who is the subject of a story for us a while ago, it has been a couple times now. She broke the 50 free record twice on day 2. She swam a school best time. And then again in the final, she broke that record again, which is good to see. And that's cool. That's
really special.
She's having a good season. And she has had a good career. Over above all, she's had a great career. She's a senior going out and wants to leave a good legacy. Other than that,
go Purple Eagles.
Go Purple Eagles, and maybe the next couple days we'll have some winning. For Franklin's story on Noah Delmas, you can pick it up in issue 11 of the Niagara Wire, coming out February 21st.
There's a port on a western bay, and it serves 100 ships.
Alrighty, let's move over to some pro sports. Let's throw it over to Ryan. Let's talk some hockey, NHL trade deadline.
Any big deals you see coming up? Anything notable of talking about?
Right now there's a lot of heat going on with New York Rangers. Their GM went and sent out a letter to fans and to season ticket holders about the team basically getting rid of names that the team has grown to love, which means X out Rick Nash, X out possibly Ryan McDonough. You have guys who are on expiring contracts all down the board, and the team actually still has a lot of salary dumped into Mark Stahl among other players. You might see a Matt Zuccarello, a Kevin Hayes, a JT Miller getting traded, they might just retool their entire team this one trade deadline. So there's a lot of that. There's some heat for Ottawa. They went and they made a minor league trade yesterday, grabbing defenseman Ville Paka for forward Chris Didomenko.
I was watching the game last night, and I saw Marian Gaborik, their newest acquisition, get a goal, and Nick Shore looked pretty good as well.
Yeah, it was a trade. They went and they picked up, as Franklin said, Marian Gaborik, Nick Shore, good center. Gaborik, guy who they might buy out in the long run. They traded away Dion Phaneuf, good defenseman, to Los Angeles Kings, who had a first goal last night with them. It's the first U.S. team he's ever played for. They also acquired a guy who helped them have a pivotal run in their cup run a few years back in forward Nate Thompson, former member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Otherwise, there's been a few little minor things lately. Nikita Shoshnikov, really good prospect forward from Toronto Maple Leafs that was buried in the minors. There's a lot of promise to him. St. Louis picked him up yesterday for a fourth-round pick next year's draft. Low risk, high reward. St. Louis is struggling, to score right now, so he could ideally be called up and play in the playoffs if they make it that far to a wild card, or even right now, he could fit in with like a Robbie Fabry and a Patty Berglund.
Alrighty, let me ask you and James about my Buffalo Sabres, because they, out of the Rangers and the Red Wings, are one of the three top sellers. They have Robin Lehner and Evander Kane, and are rumored to be giving both of them up to the Philadelphia Flyers in like a whole sweep deal.
That's the big rumor lately, is Philadelphia Flyers are the team that are most interested in not only one, but multiple Sabres players. Evander Kane, a lot of interest. Nashville, Rangers, them. The Kings even still have interest after the Phaneuf trade. A lot of these teams have a lot to offer, so there's a lot for Kane. Lehner, you see a team with a goalie like Thomas Greiss, Yaroslav Halak, Kirsters Guslevskis, who's all for the Islanders. Halak posted a 50-save shutout last night, but still, they have issues all down the board goaltending-wise, even in prospects for the Islanders. So you can see a Lehner, you can see even a Chad Johnson possibly get traded. Benoit Pouliot's been a name thrown out there for a low-risk, high-reward for anyone who's needing just bodies. Pittsburgh is one that comes to mind. Flyers have also been rumored to be interested in a player that's not on an expiring contract, someone not like an Evander Kane or a Pouliot or anyone like that. It's been rumored that they're also interested in a Nathan Boileau or a Samson Reinhart, who is RFA after this season. There's a lot of guys. Nashville's interested in Ryan O'Reilly. Sabres have a lot of things they can really do. I think overall, Botterill is not going to go and throw away this team. He'll throw away chips to get one larger thing, and not only build for now, but build for the future as well. Thing that we saw with the Bills this offseason.
Right. And speaking to throwing chips away, I wouldn't trade both Kane and Lehner in the same deal to the Flyers or whoever comes knocking. I would create two separate deals, because I don't think one team that's going to be a buyer has that great of assets going down the road for us to give up both of our top line trade bait.
One of the other things too to be noted is the New York Rangers are one of the teams that the Sabres are rumored actually having interest in. The Rangers and the Sabres are talking back and forth, and the Sabres reportedly submitted a trade offer to the Rangers for Ryan McDonagh at this point. Now, I don't know what they'd give up for Ryan McDonagh. I'd imagine a prospect with a player on the roster, because Rangers are not wanting a long-term rebuild. They want a 2-year rebuild most. The fans are hungry there in New York, so I can see a Matt Zuccarello and a Ryan McDonagh out of the Sabres. It's a big thing. Zuccarello, we need another fast guy on our team. That's the issue with the Sabres. We need scoring. We need speed. And he also has great puck handling ability, especially in defensive zone. Housley's system's built on defense, so you could see a plug in there.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be the biggest trade of the deadline if two teams that were perceived to be sellers just end up swapping trade bait and going forward.
You're listening to the Backpage Podcast presented by the Niagara Wire on WNIA, the radio station of Niagara University.
All right, let's talk some NBA basketball. The All-Star Game is coming up this weekend. We're going to save our picks for the All-Star Game for our segment Picks later. But what do you guys think of the All-Star Weekend as a whole?
Here's my thing, and I just this is just the idea I had based off the NHL All-Star Game format. Is what if they did that? What if instead of a draft,
Like threes?
what if they did like a 3-on-3 tournament? What if you had fans vote in?
That's what Michael Rappaport, he hosts the, what's it called? Oh, Big Three. That's what Big Three is for. So, like...
Oh, I know, but I think that, I mean, what would you rather watch, though? What 3-on-3 tournament would you rather watch?
I think I would love to see NBA. You have three big guys. Instead of having just two big teams stacked insanely with a Team LeBron, Team Steph, you have four teams. You have one for each division, basically, and you could have one team captain. You have 6 players per team. You know,
It'd be fun to do a draft, too, because, I mean, hockey of the four divisions helps hockey a lot, because that makes it perfect, and it gives you a good spread of talent.
Or in the NBA All-Star Game, you could even bring back divisions, because people forget there's actually divisions in NBA basketball. So
I thought it was just the 2 conferences.
No, there's actually divisions.
There are 4 divisions, James Burns.
Are there 4 divisions?
There's,
In each
4 divisions.
Oh, you could do that.
Exactly, and so
Well,
copy the
it'd be tough because
NHL.
the West, I feel like, would be stacked.
It would be.
That's why they
imagine a 3-on-3 team with Steph, KD.
Okay, and I
Chris
would definitely
Paul.
tune into that.
I would too, but I think that a draft it's more TV coverage, more advertisement, more money for the NBA.
And the pro to 3-on-3 is you only need 3 players, so that would take out your
you could,
bias of the West being totally stacked. Like you only need 3 players.
Well, you could probably use like 5. I mean, you need subs.
Or a sub, right? So 5, okay, but still,
yeah.
like there's got to be 5 great players from the East. Let's do it right now. LeBron
by
Giannis.
division.
Oh yeah, good point.
By division,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So you have Steph and KD, and are the Rockets in the West?
Yes, they're in the West, but I don't know what division they're in.
Or are they in the same? Yeah, I was gonna say because you got to break it up that way, because it would still be stacked. I mean, and you'd have whatever East Conference that doesn't have. Well, I guess Boston
Cavaliers are in the same. They're in the
No,
same
they're not.
division.
Alrighty, so I got
Right? No?
I got the division standings up right now. So let's just go really quickly down the line.
You go for it. Yeah.
So we got the Atlantic, that's Toronto, Boston, the Philadelphia 76ers, the New York Knicks, and the Brooklyn Nets. So I would take Kyrie, Kristaps if he isn't injured,
yeah.
and maybe like DeMar DeRozan.
Or Kyle Lowry.
Yeah,
that could be
Kyle
your 4.
Lowry off the bench, right?
Yeah,
There
that
you
could
go.
be your 4. What's next?
And then Joel Embiid, 5. Boom.
Yeah, 5. There you go, 5.
So we got Central. We've got the Cavs, the Pacers, the Bucks, the Pistons, and the Chicago Bulls.
All right, so from there you're you're definitely taking LeBron.
Right.
You're taking Giannis.
2.
You're taking Victor Oladipo.
3.
Blake
Griffin, 4.
Griffin.
Even Drummond.
I say Drummond. There's your 5.
5. Boom.
All right.
Southeast. I guess there's 3 divisions.
I was gonna say there's 3 divisions in each conference.
Yeah.
So it'd be a 6-team tournament.
That'd be really interesting.
That would be really
You
interesting.
could do like a 2-day thing maybe.
Exactly.
Do like a
TV
round
coverage.
robin.
Ching chang.
Oh, my
TV
God.
coverage.
We just fixed the NBA.
We really just did.
Let's
fix
keep
the
going.
NBA.
This is fun.
This is great. So Southeast, we got the Wizards, the Heat, the Hornets, the Magic, and the Hawks.
All right.
That team would lose
John
all
Wall.
of the games.
They have John Wall
Yeah, John Wall.
and Dragic.
And
Dragic?
Dragic. Kemba Walker, I guess. Does Dwight Howard
That's
still
what I
play
mean.
basketball?
He
That's 4.
physically he does.
Okay, we'll throw him on the team. That'll get like views. And Bradley Beal, 5. There you go.
All right.
That team would lose all of the games.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
that
So
would- that'd be
there you
bad.
run into the problem. Then they're
Right, but that's 1 division out of 6.
I don't know,
Yeah,
but
you'll
it
have
just
that.
for I don't know. All right.
Okay, so the North. Now we're moving to the West. The Northwest division. We got the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Utah Jazz, and the Portland Trailblazers.
all right.
My Minnesota Timberwolves would feature
Jimmy
3 out of the 5, in my
You
opinion.
Jimmy
figure
Butler.
Damian Lillard is in there.
Lillard, Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns.
Well, you
And,
got the
Andrew
Thunder.
Wiggins.
You got the Thunder too. So
Yeah,
you got
Russell
Paul
Westbrook.
Ross.
Wow.
You got Paul George.
You could even have Melo just for interest.
Melo.
Right,
I mean,
Melo.
he's still a great player. Then who's the rookie from Denver? The rookie center.
Jokic.
Yeah.
He just got the fastest triple double too. That would be a
Exactly.
pretty stacked
That's
team.
a pretty good team. That's a very
Alrighty.
slept on division.
The Warriors 5 could just be the Warriors division, which is the Pacific, features the Warriors, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Kings, and the Suns. You could just put the Warriors.
Well, the Kings and the
starting 5.
Suns wouldn't have anybody unless
You'd
you
have Booker.
want to throw Booker a bone.
throw Booker. If you want to include Ball.
You might have Ball
for the clicks, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Never lost.
And then for the Southwest, we've got the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Dallas Mavericks.
That's actually not a bad one either.
I would give Davis a shout.
Harden.
Davis for sure.
Harden.
Well, Davis I think is the top forward in the league. So Davis, Harden, Chris Paul,
Kawhi, if he's healthy.
Kawhi,
That's 4. And then
Gasol.
I guess Aldridge. Did we say Aldridge? I'd rather put Aldridge than
You'd rather put Aldridge than Gasol?
than
Really?
Marc Gasol for sure. Oh yeah.
Really?
Aldridge is an all-star this year. Marc Gasol isn't. To my
I still think Gasol's very underrated.
Alrighty.
Defensive.
He's terrific.
So that was much better than I thought.
That was cool.
It was gonna
Yeah.
go.
You figure you could have like what NHL does, where they had plug-in games. Instead of having 3-hour-long games, they'll have like a 2-hour-long game basically.
Keeps interest
It's
too.
very fast.
Yeah.
It keeps interest and it keeps things fresh. It creates a story. It creates something that you want to follow instead of just a game. And I'd love to see the NBA All-Star Game kind of do something like this. I'm usually a traditionalist with a lot of these things, like especially in sport. But I mean, in terms of All-Star Game, it just becomes such a joke anyway.
yeah,
you
exactly.
You gotta fix it.
Be sure to tune in next week. We have a very special guest coming on for episode 3 of the Backpage Podcast. You aren't going to want to miss it. Alrighty, so let's move over to the Olympics. Is Shaun White, I wouldn't say he's the GOAT, but he's number 2 behind Phelps.
I mean, if we're talking
snowboarding.
he's he's
snowboarding's
greatest of all
the GOAT.
time. Snowboarding, I'd argue men's and women's, period. But over Olympics, it's a hard argument. He consistently puts up gold. Michael Phelps, has
Phelps
medal
has the
count.
most. Yeah,
but
he's the most decorated. And
Right. Hence my naming him the GOAT.
Now, if you're using the argument too for snowboarding, I would argue how our generation, growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, we had our Tony Hawk, we had Bam Margera, we had all these guys who were phenomenal for, skateboarding. We didn't have the snowboarders necessarily. Now, today's Tony Hawk, I'd argue, for this generation, is Shaun White.
I would definitely say Shaun White has a lot of following from, even older generations that might want to get into snowboarding, but especially, like you said, the younger generation that's looking to get into a sport that they might not be the greatest at any team sports, that I can go be like Shaun White and win however many gold medals.
Well, now you can look at the Redmond kid who just
Yeah.
overslept, lost his jacket, dropped an F-bomb on TV, and won a gold medal.
That's the most American thing ever, which
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm loving.
And then Chloe Kim, another one you can look at as maybe a 10-year-old. You look at someone who's 17, still has that young factor, and I don't know.
She's going to be there for a long, long time. She's not going anywhere.
Chloe Kim has, if you want to, she's 17 now. She can do it when she's 21. She can do it when she's 25. She can do it when she's 29.
And Shaun White's 31.
Yeah.
So you could
So
probably
that's
throw
at
on
least
30.
3 more Olympics after this for Chloe Kim, and 33. If you want to have her doing it at 33 too, that's 4. So
Okay.
she could become the most decorated snowboarder of all
She can
time.
do it.
Yeah, she can totally do it. She probably will do it. Let's check back in with each other in 16 years and see what happens.
I'm game.
Alrighty, let's move to segments. First off, we're going to start with the RIPs of the week. I will go first because I'm actually really excited to tell you guys about this one. My RIP of the week is ESPN's on-air personality, Will Cain.
You hate this guy, right?
I don't really hate him. I just think, well, hear me out on this one.
Okay.
So on Wednesday, Clippers guard Patrick Beverley called out Will Cain on Twitter on his take on the show First Take, and he said, Will Cain doesn't know anything about basketball. He then calls into the Will Cain show and tells him to his face, or to his ear in this case,
Over the phone,
to
his face.
that he doesn't, he didn't say exactly he doesn't know anything about basketball, but they went back and forth on a very good point, and Beverly actually brought up some very good points in the argument that I definitely didn't see coming, making Will Cain look really stupid. So, my RIP of the week is Will Cain.
Okay. R.I.P. Will Cain.
James, you have a good RAP, I've heard.
I am a big Blackhawks fan, but this year has just been a disappointment. I think that we're seeing the end of this dynasty as if we haven't
Single tier.
if we haven't within the last few years. This is just the first. This is going to be the first season they missed the playoffs since Kane and Taves rookie year. And you can chalk it up to goaltending. You can chalk it up to a lot of things. But it's tough to keep a dynasty like this around, especially if you give Jonathan Taves and Pat Cave all that money. So I think that going forward, the Blackhawks are going to start selling some of those key pieces. I don't think Host is going to come back yet. Obviously, to sit out the entirety of the season due to complications. But I just think it's the beginning of the end for the Blackhawks.
So R.I.P. the Blackhawks.
R.I.P. the Black. I mean, I could see Kane, I could see Taves staying, but as someone,
tear down.
Maybe someone like a Seabrook's gone. Maybe someone like a Patrick Sharp is gone again. Yeah, R.I.P. Blackhawks.
You can tune in to us in next week or 2 weeks. The trade deadline for NHL is Monday the 26th at 3 p.m. We're going to be doing a trade deadline special podcast for at least the first half of our normal podcast. Besides that, I have to add, Blackhawks, I don't know if they're necessarily done. I can see management being quite upset, and like you said, trading away a piece or two. But I would almost do a hot take and say Blackhawks are playoff clinched next year.
Ooh, they think they'll rebound.
I think they're going to rebound hard.
Depends when players come back.
Yeah, I can
Depends
totally
coming
see
back,
it.
but yeah.
Alrighty, Ryan, what's your RIP of the week?
My RIP of the week is Yu Darvish and the Cubs, salary cap, all the above. Yu Darvish was signed to a 6-year, $126 million deal with tons of incentives on top. He is coming off of World Series loss. He's coming off of horrible transition from the Rangers to the Dodgers. He posted high-end ERA. I think he had only one regular season win with the Dodgers. He is a strikeout pitcher in a division, in a league, National League, patient hitters. He's losing his stamina, his mile per hour on his fastball's going down. I can see the Cubs making horrible deal here. I don't think they're going to be playoffs next year, honestly.
So RIP, the Chicago Cubs.
Exactly.
Wow, Chicago's taking it really hard in this week's RIP. Let's move to our
Bears
hot
suck
take.
too, right?
Yeah,
Bears suck too.
and the Bulls.
And the Bulls.
White Sox.
Oh, Chicago. And the White Sox are horrible.
Yikes.
Oh. I like
Alrighty.
Chicago. I like the city of Chicago.
Yeah,
It's
I've
sad.
been there.
Can't go wrong.
No, it's-
Alrighty, let's move to I'll Tell You What, the hot take segment. Who's going to go first?
I'll go first this week. My I'll tell you what of this week is Marcus Stroman, Toronto Blue Jays pitcher, who just lost his arbitration case as of yesterday. He stated on Twitter that it just adds fuel to the fire. Now, I don't know if he's just trying to get under management's skin or what it is, but I'll tell you what, Marcus Stroman will be traded from the Toronto Blue Jays this season before Chris Archer ever gets traded from the Rays. He'll go to a contending team, and he'll stick it to the Blue Jays.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. Blue Jays are definitely going to implode. Alrighty, I'll go next. My I'll Tell You What is that this offseason, both Case Keenum and A.J. McCarron are going to be signed to way too much money to two teams that are going to be desperate for a quarterback, and both of them are going to bust. Like, Keenum's one good year came with one of the best offensive minds in football and a loaded roster on offense. And McCarron couldn't beat Andy Dalton out for a starting job, so how's he going to be effective in the NFL?
That actually ties into my I'll Tell You What pretty well, Frank. And my I'll Tell You What is that A.J. McCarron is going to get too much money, and he's going to get more money than Sam Bradford.
Yeah, Sam Bradford, definitely a much more proven quarterback.
Yeah, and so his downside is that he's had a lot of injuries. He can't stay healthy for a season. However, Sam Bradford, he's much more established. He's much more accomplished. He's much more credible and dependable than A.J. McCarron, who is in his fourth year in the league, never started, or especially over Andy Dalton, he's not bad, but he's not someone who you ride to the playoffs.
I think you're stuck on. Bengals were stuck on face the franchise with Dalton. They're so stuck on it they wouldn't give McCarron a chance almost. But I go in with your argument of McCarron making too much money. You see Jimmy Garoppolo, unproven quarterback, who was a backup. You see him get largest contract there. I think it's going to be a trend from now on.
Quarterbacks getting just way too much money.
Alrighty, let's move to our last segment of the episode, picks.
Last week we had a solid week from all of our writers here on the Wire Sports staff, minus myself. I went 0-3. The rest of the team went 2-1. Very, very tough week for myself.
And on alphabetical, I am in first place all time. So
What are you talking about?
F is before J. So
yeah, but B's before H. You sorted
we're
out by
doing
last
we're
name or
doing first
name?
names. This is a first name podcast.
Ridiculous.
Maybe a
crazy.
Twitter poll of the week. Do you consider standings for the Wire Sports team?
By first name or last name? Yeah, it's
First
by
name or last
by
name.
last
Yeah, we'll
name.
throw it on Twitter.
It's
Did we bring up last week's Twitter poll?
Last week's Twitter poll, actually, now that we're just talking about it, was which Winter Olympic sport is the best sport to watch?
Out of luge, curling, and hockey.
Yes.
Women's and men's hockey had the tie, technically, with curling, but took the win.
Yes, that's
How?
true.
How they tie and win?
Because we say so, and we make up the Twitter poll.
Okay, yeah. So hockey wins. All right.
If you're going off the staff, I believe a lot of us voted for hockey.
All right. Let's get started on picks. I said curling. I don't know what you're talking about.
Alrighty, so the NBA All-Star Game, we touched on it earlier. We fixed the All-Star Game. That was pretty great.
We did. That was nice.
We did.
That was nice. We're expecting a call from Commissioner Silver within the next couple days now.
Alrighty, I'll start. I'm going to take Team Steph. My brain says pick Team LeBron because they're the better players, but my heart as a Timberwolves fan says pick Team Steph because my guys, Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns, are both on Team Steph.
Yeah, I'll go with my brain and take the team with LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. So, Team LeBron.
Here we are talking about LeBron James. LeBron James' team is going to clean house by far. We have also contribution from our other writer, Jimmy McGowan. He also chose Team LeBron. So Franklin over here,
Lone
is on
wolfing it.
wolfing.
Alrighty, let's move to the NHL. Let's pick the Anaheim Ducks going up against the Minnesota Wild. I'm going to take the Anaheim Ducks, and this goes way back for me. The Jean-Sebastien Giguère, Chris Pronger, Scott Niedermayer, Teemu Selanne teams were my team growing
Paul
up.
Correa.
Paul Correa on that team, too. That was my team, or my second team growing up to the Danny Briere, Chris Drury Sabres. So, going with the Ducks.
See, I'll go with the Wild just because I'll never take the California teams. I hate that there's a team in the middle of the desert. There are two teams in the middle of the desert.
So you're saying warm climate.
Warm climate teams, yeah. And St. Louis is like the exception because they have a rich history. But like I said, I'm a traditionalist with sports. So Minnesota, give me a team in Minnesota. I love that.
Jamie went and took the side of Franklin on this one, choosing Anaheim Ducks. I am personally, aside from the podcast, a Wild fan besides a Sabres fan. But on this bet, they're in a tough division. They're fourth in their division. The Ducks are same place, but they have room to move. They have a chance to move up and come into second behind Vegas. I'm choosing Anaheim.
So, James, that looks like you're lone wolfing it on this one.
That's fine. I don't care.
Alrighty, last but not least, let's pick number 3 Villanova at number 4 Xavier.
Another close game. We had a close game last week, which we had Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans going up against, was it Villanova?
No, Purdue.
Excuse me, Purdue, yeah. With Michigan State taking the win, we took the system. Ryan Lone Wolfed it again, took Purdue.
Took the hard L as well. Ryan took the hard L.
Franklin, who do you got in this game?
It didn't fail me last week, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm taking the system, which is Villanova over Providence.
Villanova is an established program, and they are the third seed. I believe, though they've been struggling lately, I think they have to rebound against this team. So I'm taking Villanova over Xavier.
I will as well go with the Villanova over Xavier. Big system guy, big structure guy. Villanova's team play will have much more than I don't know what I'm saying.
I don't know. Just pick a team.
Villanova over Xavier. That's my
Gotcha.
take.
What did Jamie say?
Jamie Magone, he chose Villanova clean sweep.
It is a clean sweep for Villanova.
Xavier's going to clean house. We're all going to look like idiots. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Backpage Podcast presented by the Niagara Wire. Be sure to subscribe to the Backpage Podcast on YouTube and SoundCloud. Check out @Wire Sports on Twitter to answer this week's Twitter poll. which is, do you classify name by first or last?
No, not just name. You classify the Backpage Podcast all-time picks standing by first name or last name.
We'd also like to announce there is a brand new Twitter handle for Backpage Podcast, at Backpage Podcast on Twitter. Make sure to follow that, Warrior Sports, Niagara Wire on Twitter, and many others. Thank you.
See you next week. Thanks for tuning in.